The key to living in alignment isn't that, oh, I'm waiting for the good things or, oh, I'm trying to get rid of the bad things. It's everything is just an experience. I'm at peace no matter what. If I lose it all, I'm at peace. If I gain it all, I'm at peace.
Welcome to the Inspired to Thrive podcast. I'm your host, Phoebe Lay, and in each episode, I will be sharing with you insights from either an inspiring person or myself to help you thrive and shine online and in person. We talk about all things marketing, relationships, money, business, growth, mindset, and more. So thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you inspired to thrive. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Inspired to Thrive and Shine podcast. Today, I have Daryl Shaun Price with me, who is a sacred disruptor of the status quo, and I'm very excited to interview him. He is a calm yet catalytic force who transforms lives not by force, but through flow. And with a presence that both soothes and activates, he supports visionaries, seekers, and heart led leaders to realign with their spirit, remember who they truly are, and manifest miracles through deep embodiment. Daryl doesn't speak from theory, he embodies what he teaches and is more like a guide. He's a sanctuary. And his mission is to awaken the power within you, guiding you into such profound alignment that your entire reality shifts, helping you to move from hustle into harmony, which I think is so important in this day and age, from chaos into clarity, and turning towards that grounded yes that reshapes everything. And through his work, you will learn to trust your energy, anchor in daily peace, and create a life that feels like home. Daryl, welcome to the show. It is so good to have you on.
Thank you, Phoebe. I am so privileged to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm so pleased to have you. It's been such a pleasure to chat. And in the little time that I've known you, I can definitely say that you are a mirror for those who are ready to rise, who are not going to settle for status quo and who are ready to actually transform their lives and live in alignment. And that's something that we're here to discuss and talk about today. And I'm excited because I think living in alignment is truly what matters in this day and age. And life is so short. There is no time to be living anywhere but in alignment. I'd love the listeners to hear your story of what it was like to not live in alignment. So before you transformed into the person who you are today, the Daryl Shaun Price, that is the spiritual guide, the frequency mentor, and the soul alignment strategist.
Okay, well, and there's so many details I could share there, but I'll sum it up as much as possible because I think you hit the nail on the head. There's a difference between here's the life before you learn to live in alignment, and here's the life afterwards. And it's more of a feeling than an actual behavior. But I was raised in a very, very conservative Christian home, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners probably were too, where we followed very Western ideals about culture and marriage and family. I lived it. I lived it to a T. I did only what the church told me I was supposed to do. I very much followed the pattern that was laid out for life of, well, now you get married and now you have kids, and the male is the provider and the female is the nurturer, and you each have your distinct roles. And it was a very Western patriarchal system that never clicked for me, if I'm being honest. But I went through the motions anyway, and I did everything I was supposed to. And I was married for 11 years, had 4 kids, and the entire time was really miserable. If I look back and am honest with myself now, it felt imprisoned. And not because there was anything bad, not because, oh, like we were abusing each other. It was because we weren't being true to ourselves. We never would have done that had we been in alignment when we were back then. And no regrets. Everything happens for a reason. If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be the person I am now. But living in that life, I was always longing for more. I was always longing for there's got to be something that just adds that peace to your life, that adds that clarity, that adds that purpose to your life rather than I'm going through these motions. When do I get that happy reward that was promised me? And so it was really this stifling, almost suffocating life beforehand. And it took a lot of interesting, what you would look at the outside from an outside perspective and say tragic events to give me my wake up call, really.
What was the moment where you had that realization, oh, this is really bad, or oh, I'm not walking down that path where I thought I would be? and I don't think I'm going down the right path.
There is actually a few of them in my life in a lot of different areas. I'll bring up a couple that I think were really impactful at the major shift. One was it was about a year and a half after the divorce. I was in an apartment by myself and I now live thousands of miles away from my kids. And I remember I was just feeling the grief of losing everything I thought was supposed to be my happy life. And I was just laying on the floor crying and crying and crying. And I decided I'm going to let myself feel this moment as deeply as I want. I'm going to let myself cry as much as I want. And when the tears were done, I realized I got up and didn't believe anything anymore and chose I'm not going to believe anything. I'm going to go have an experience. If it feels like peace, I'm leaning into that. If it doesn't, I'm moving away from it. And that kind of started my journey of living in alignment by following the peace. But I'll tell you another one that was a very interesting wake up call for me was with my dad. So my dad is this amazing, productive, he can do anything person. You give my dad enough materials, he can build the world's most amazing mansion by himself. He succeeds at everything in the material world. And I grew up with every weekend, we would have a project that he would make me do as a kid because I'm guessing he was teaching me to be handy and resourceful, et cetera, like him. But I remember we grew up in South Texas, and one day we were installing solar panels to heat a pool in South Texas where it never goes below 80. We have no need for a heated pool. It was just a project because he could do it. So I'm sitting here putting PVC pipe together in this ditch, and he comes behind me. And I look back now and I'm going to tell you, my dad always meant well. But he comes behind me and goes, "Why are you doing that like that? I didn't teach you how to do that. Get out of my way." And something clicked in me. And I decided, I don't care what I do in life, no matter what, I'm going to be better than him at something. And I lived my life that way for a long time. I went in and started many of my own businesses. At one point, I had a very successful web design and IT company. And my dad had had some tragic things that happened to him in his life with his career. And I was so proud of myself because he'd never owned his own company. I even had the local congressman asking me to be in a small business think tank and run that for him and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I had notoriety. I had my own business. I was more successful than him. I was so proud of myself until one day when he called me. And I remember this call so well because the first time I think I felt a real connection with my dad. That he had been struggling to find another job himself later in life. And he got on the phone and said, "Son, do you have a job for me?" Everything shifted. And I realized I hate this life. I don't care if I own a company. I don't care if I'm super rich. I don't care if the congressman comes to me to be a small business think tank leader. I wasn't happy. You kind of take those two crossroads together. One was I was so attached to my beliefs that I thought that's where happiness came from. And everything got taken away from me being attached to those beliefs. The other one was I had to prove myself better than someone else. And then once that need to prove myself was gone, I looked around and realized none of this life is me. And those are my big, big wake up calls to say, no, I'm going to do what feels happy and peaceful for me from now on.
That would have been such a huge shift. I want to talk about how can someone tell when they're not living in alignment with their truth? Because I was thinking about this today. When our car runs out of petrol, or in some people's cases, electricity, there is a light that turns on or a signal that flashes or a warning sign, and it says you've only got 5 or 20 kilometers before the car's going to stop moving. But
Mhm.
in life, we don't have such obvious signals where there's a flashing light or a warning sign. So, what are the warning signs? What are some of the cues that we need to look out for to say, hey, we're not living in alignment? And how can we be aware of that?
Okay. So, first off, I want to backpedal a little bit. We do have those obvious warning signs. We're just taught to ignore them. And I'll talk about those in just a second. But I love what you said about that and using it as the car and running out of petrol. We all know those people who it doesn't matter how much the car says it is. I'm going to push it a little more. I can still get to the next stop. And they do it anyway. And that's what we're taught to do in life with these signals, is what I think. So here's the beautiful thing you, exactly as you are so special, so important, so unique with the traits, the strengths, the weaknesses, the likes, the dislikes you have, that if you didn't exist exactly as you are right now, this universe itself would not exist. So, with that in mind, you're automatically being told what works and doesn't work for you because you're doing one of two things: you're listening or you're struggling. So, you want to know if you're in alignment? Are you struggling? Then you're on alignment. And it's really that simple. And we like to overanalyze because our brains want to hold on to the beliefs we already have. So let's take work, for example. Let's say you're in a work that's stressful and there's so much to be done and there's so many things you have to do and you feel busy all the time and you're so tired when you get home. So you just want to relax. Okay. So what'll happen is at first you'll get little signals. I'm tired all the time. That's a signal. Oh, I don't wanna engage with people, and I don't wanna be my happy, cheerful self because of all the things I've been doing. That's a signal. If we don't listen, the signals get bigger. Take my 2 stories. There were so many times, so many little omens along the way with, for example, the company that I was running that I wasn't happy with. I didn't like the congressman that I worked with, by the way. We fought all the time. I had a business partner that kept stealing things from me. I had all these little signs that this isn't you. But of course, I rationalize them away and say, oh, it's because of this and because of that, and because I wanted to hold on to that belief. The universe will give you struggle not as a punishment, but as a way to say, wake up. That's not your path. And this is when I tell people follow the peace. It's exactly what I'm talking about. Everything in life. It could be like, for example, those amazing, beautiful glasses you're wearing right now. What if you just felt like, I don't want to wear these today? Well, your brain would say, well, no, but you have to, and you need them to see, and you're not going to be able to function. So our brains will rationalize and say that, but we get omens all the time. It's either an omen of peace or an omen of pain. If there's any pain, there's something about this situation that is not in alignment. But we're so used to push it away and work through it and work through it and keep struggling and keep pushing and pull yourself up by your bootstraps one more step. So we get the signals all the time. Do we listen or do we struggle? My stories, for example, I didn't have to get to those extreme points where my dad had to beg me for a job for me to heal. I could have listened to the smaller signals. I didn't have to get to the point of I lost everything, had nothing left. I could have listened to the smaller signals, but I didn't. And that's how the universe got through to me. You will always get the signal that would be the easiest for you to accept. And then it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger until you accept it.
That is so true. My brain is flying through so many signals right now. And I definitely remember some where it was like, wow, those smaller signals, if I had listened to them, I wouldn't have needed the bigger signal. And it's actually almost a bit fun. It's not like haha fun, but it's fun in that it's like, oh, these principles really do exist.
Yeah.
And I think we can always use those previous examples to remind us that in the future, we need to really focus on listening to those signs and signals early, and it could be something as small as sometimes I hear a friend say, I constantly feel like I'm just on the edge of getting sick. And I'm just on the edge of getting, and then I get better, and then I'm again on the edge of getting sick. And then one day she's slammed with getting the flu or something. And maybe her body's telling her that she needs to slow down or she's not aligned. I don't know what the signal is. She would know it better than me. But I feel like sometimes I hear people telling me their signals and it's like they're almost on the edge or on the verge of figuring it out, but they're not even sure what it is. And
Mhm.
I guess everybody has an inner compass. So how do we tune into this inner compass? And is it something that we can tune into for other people, or is that just for them to figure out themselves? And we're just there as friends to just observe and maybe prod them in the right direction.
Okay, so first off, we don't know the meaning or purpose behind anything. I love the example of your friend with the health issues. You don't know the meaning of the signal. You know the meaning of the signal as you perceive it, which is a signal for you. So, which will now, the next time you start to get sick, you're going to think of your friend and it'll remind you, oh, wait a minute, is that my body telling me to slow down? So it's interesting because everything, including your friends, including your loved ones, everything outside of you is only a reflection of you because you weren't actually inside that person. So you don't know them as they are. You know them as you see them and project them to be.
Yeah.
So for us to tune into the signals, it's so much simpler than we make it. It really is. Being in alignment really has four pieces. There is your spirit. Your spirit is that being that is internal. It is the energy of creation itself. It will never cease. It will never not exist. It doesn't shift massively. It's the energy of all of creation is your spirit, which means it's automatically vibrating at what is the happiest. And it wants harmony with the energy of creation that's in everything else. So those signals that go to your mind will turn those signals into ideas and thoughts, but it only can use thoughts based on what your current beliefs are.
Mm.
So the signal might be, oh, freedom, freedom, freedom. And your mind goes, well, that means I need $1 million. Well, according to your current beliefs, I'm not free till I get $1 million. Okay. But here's where the heart comes in. And this is where I think it's really, really important. And this is where we're taught not to deal with it correctly. Your heart is there to tell you, is that idea really in alignment with this spirit or not? So if you think I'm not going to be free until I get $1 million and it just feels heavy, oh, that's an element. It's not in alignment. Okay, let that thought go. Oh, I could be free right now without $1 million and that feels like peace. Oh, that is an alignment. Let me do that one. And then your body is an amplifier. So that cycle of those three, the spirit, heart, and mind, they're always feeding to each other. Those three are in alignment, the more your body amplifies by naturally being healthy, getting more energy, being able to interact with the reflection you create in a better way. If your body's breaking down and slowing down and getting sick or always on the edge of getting sick, it's barely hanging on to having the experiences that are not in alignment. And really, all you have to do, shift your attention. We react to everything outside of us. This person called, I better answer. Oh my gosh, this one I love. How many times do we look at our phone and go, oh my gosh, there's like 32 notifications. I better go clear those. Let me go see what they are. We react to the outside world as almost a trigger. If you shift your attention to say, no, I don't live like that. I live focused on is my spirit, heart, and mind in alignment only. Okay, the outside world tells me to do this. I'm like, oh, it doesn't feel like alignment. I'm going to go over here and sit in the hammock then. But you can't do that because the world told you to do something else. So really, it's just about shifting your attention. And there's some simple ways to do that. I mean, you take meditation, for example. The reason I think meditation or prayer, depending on what background you're coming from, but the reason I think it's taught in almost every culture throughout the world because of how easy it is to shift your attention from outside to inside in a meditative state. And you can call it whatever you want. I'm talking to God, I'm communing with spirit, I'm practicing mindfulness. Really, what it's doing is it's saying, I'm not responding to the outside. I'm now focused on the inside.
I love that you mentioned the word heaviness before. Just going back a little bit into that conversation when you said there are certain things that make us feel heavy, because I really think for me, that is usually my signal. Over the
Mhm.
last couple of years, I've learned to really tune into that. And there are certain things like people, for example, you and I connecting the other day, and there was this lightness and this ease about doing this podcast interview. And I think that there are certain things or people that draw me where I go, I feel really at ease about it. I feel light about it. And there are certain events, places, people, conversations, or even projects and tasks that feel very heavy and they don't feel aligned and I don't feel passionate about it. And I think those are really good indicators. And you can use it in your business, in your work environment, but also in your relationship because we spend so much time with the person we're in a relationship with. We invest so much of ourselves and our times when we're seeing or dating someone or in a relationship with someone. And a lot of people end up in sometimes wrong relationships and they stay around for too long. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit because you mentioned that you experienced that in your marriage.
Yes.
And for those that are listening who might be feeling like they're in a either a loveless marriage or a relationship that doesn't feel aligned. Maybe it's not toxic, but it just doesn't feel aligned. They're not energized by it. They're not looking forward to seeing that person. They're always around that person perhaps or whatever it is and they're comfortable, but they're out of alignment with their true self. How can a person recognize that? And how can we be honest with ourselves about that kind of situation?
Beautiful question. And I get this one a lot. And this is probably one of the big ones I help people with. First, I want to say this right now to all of your listeners. I am never going to be somebody that tells you, oh, well, that doesn't feel good. Go get a divorce and change it. You don't get into alignment by fixing the outside world.
Mm,
You get into alignment, and then the outside world will naturally change to match it. If that requires shifting a relationship, it will happen naturally. It will as a miracle, and it'll feel easy and it'll feel flowing, and it's not going to be a fight or a struggle. But for somebody who's in that situation, and I'm thinking there's a client of mine in Norway, and I'm not going to mention names by any means, but this was her big thing when she came to me is she's been with this same man. They have kids together, and she's been with him for 20, 30 years, and she does not feel special or valued, and it just doesn't click. Like they're fine, but it's just not clicking for her. I said, well, then pretend he doesn't exist. What's not clicking for you with you? Because that's the key. You create everything as a reflection of you and your level of alignment. If you've got someone you're with that's not clicking, you're not clicking. Now, we're not going to get into what happens in the outside world because once you live in alignment, once you are saying, I'm at peace if nothing changes, I'm at peace if everything changes and everywhere in between, then everything starts to move to match that new vibration. And there was this amazing experience that she had. So after working together for a few weeks, she said that she got to a place where she really, really felt in alignment. It was really just, she felt peace. She felt love for herself. She went and did things she'd never done before. Like one thing she hadn't done in years, which baffles me to think, is go get an ice cream. Who doesn't have ice cream for years? Anyhow, so she went and did that. And then she said it was the most amazing thing. The other day, she just felt really inspired to ask her partner to go for a walk. And they did. And he reached out and held her hand. And there was this connection there that hadn't been there in a long time. Whereas when
wow.
she first came to me, she thought, I'm just coming to this person who, so he can give me the courage to leave this guy. Well, now they're reconnecting. But it wasn't him that changed. It wasn't, let's work on the relationship and fix it. It was her that started to live in alignment.
Wow, that's amazing. And I definitely can agree with that. I think when we live in alignment and our inner world shifts, a lot of the outer world does change and also perspective and energy. We're looking at everything through kind of like stained glass windows. So if our inner dialogue isn't tuned into the right channel, everything could feel really, really negative and horrible, or everything could feel really, really positive. It's definitely a lot to do with your environment as well and also what kind of channel you're tuning into.
Okay. I want to add one little thing there. Don't worry about your environment. Let me just give you this example. So you could take the master of living in alignment, stick him in a prison with his enemies around him threatening to kill him, and he'd still be at peace.
Wow.
But, and I know you know old stories of people that have done things like this. And there's
Yeah.
been times in my life where I was in a situation where I should have been scared to death, but I was at peace. In fact, let me give you a quick story on this one. This is hilarious because when I tell this story, people are, that was kind of funny and ridiculous. And looking back, it is. So when I was first really learning to be an adult and manage my finances, I had gotten a dream car for me. It was this beautiful luxury sedan with nice leather seats and cooling and heating seats, and it had all this fancy stuff for way back then that nowadays is standard. But I'd gotten in a really, really, really bad loan. Like I owed way more than this car would ever be worth. It was hurting my finances. And I said, I got to get out of this loan. This was a dumb idea. I shouldn't have done it. And I really felt the impression that I've got to fix this. I've got to get something better financially for me. But I didn't know how I was going to do it. And I went and did the typical thing that we do with our mind. Well, I'm going to go shopping and I'm going to go look around. And I spent, I think it was 5 hours at a car dealership that promised they would pay off the old car, get me a new one, which really what it means is they're wrapping that old loan into the new loan. Now I'd be owed twice as much. So it wasn't going to work for me. But I said, you know what? I feel really at peace that I'm going to find a way to get rid of this bad loan and not have it hurt my finances personally. 3 days later, I'm on an icy highway in Utah and everybody screeches to a halt in front of me. And I barely don't hit the car in front of me. And I look in the rearview mirror and sure enough, this car is coming fast. It's not going to stop. The moment I saw that though, I go, oh, that's how I'm getting out of this car. And I was at complete peace. Nobody was hurt. And most people are thinking, you're about to get in an accident. You can't feel at peace. I did though. I was so much at peace and said, "Oh, this is the experience we're having. Let's go ahead and have it." And because of gap insurance and other stuff, the whole loan was paid for and it was basically wiped clean. And here's the money to go get a different car. But would I have ever chosen that to say, "Oh, I want to get a new car. Let me go wreck this one"? No, of course not. But I was at peace in a moment that should have been fear, according to standard way of looking at the world. Now, you are right, though. Our vibration is everything. Our inner dialogue, one of the things I love and hate is, yes, there are a lot of people that focus on inner dialogue and, let's do affirmations to get you to say the right things. If you really focus there before you're living in alignment, you're just responding to the outside again. Because most of your inner dialogue is trained to respond to your current beliefs. Your inner dialogue will naturally shift. For example, that experience I just had, my inner dialogue wasn't, "Oh no, I'm going to get hit. I better brace myself." It was, "Oh, that's how this is going to happen. Let's have this experience." Which most people listening to that inner dialogue would say, "You're freaking crazy, man. What are you doing?" But your inner dialogue will naturally shift if you're living in alignment. There's a lot of people that want to teach you the outside parts first. But if you go out there and say you want to manifest money or relationships or health and you're not living in alignment, then you're just practicing affirmations and journaling and other things that are trying to force the outside world to change. And it's a struggle. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. If you're living in alignment and all of a sudden you feel inspired to do this activity, it will be the magic that creates the miracle because your spirit told you to do it.
Wow, that's so profound.
Thank you.
I love that in that moment when most people would have freaked out, you just stayed really, really calm because you have that inner awareness and you're obviously aware that that was part of the journey, that was part of the process, and you just kind of braced yourself. So I think that speaks a lot because someone that's anchored in their truth is able to be aware of those kind of situations.
Yeah,
And it's something that I'm guessing when you chose truth over comfort, staying in a marriage that wasn't aligned with your truth, or like that story with your father, that would have obviously transformed your life.
absolutely. Think about those two stories, though. I would not have logically chosen either one of them. If you had told me when I got married, it would be 11 years of literal hell because she would not like you and would tear you down for 11 years, I wouldn't have done it. Of course not. If I was told that, "Hey, you're going to build this whole company just to prove yourself better than your dad, but end up having to save him," I probably wouldn't have done it. I probably said, "Well, then why don't I just save him?" You don't know all the pieces and you don't need to.
Yeah, that's so true. Absolutely. And I think one of the hardest truths that we have to face is that life is not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, and it's going to throw curveballs at us. But it's about
Yeah,
how we manage that because when we get enough curveballs, we know how to pick ourselves up again and to just keep going and really focus on what's ahead rather than dwelling on that negativity or sadness or dwelling on why me and oh, it's such a bad day and they must dislike me if they sent me this email or if they canceled this contract. And instead be like, well, how can I be more aligned and attract more of the things that are aligned with me? So, yeah,
it's a good perspective. Can I take you one layer deeper?
absolutely.
Okay. So, what if taking that same perspective of, okay, I want to be in more alignment and attract things that are more aligned to me? What if I want to live in alignment so I'm at peace, even if nothing good is ever attracted to me? Can I share with you a quick Taoist parable?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, there's a Taoist parable, and I think it was Chuang-Tzu, who was a student of Lao Tzu that wrote the Tao Te Ching, that said this. But there's a farmer who has his farm and his horse and his son, and just a little farm, is very happy living his life. He uses the horse to plow the fields. And one day, this horse runs off into the woods. And his neighbors come and they're really distraught and like, "Oh my gosh, what a horrible thing to happen to you. Your horse ran away. You can't bring your crops in. What are you going to do? This is such a horrible thing." And the farmer said, "Maybe." And then the next day, the horse came back with three other horses. And now he's got 4 horses. It brought 3 wild horses back with him. And now the neighbors gather around and go, "Oh, what a wonderful thing to happen to you. You now have 4 horses. You only had 1." And the farmer said, "Maybe." And then a few weeks later, while his son is trying to tame one of the horses, he ends up getting bucked off and shatters his leg. And so the neighbors come around and go, "Oh, what a horrible thing to happen. Look, your son broke his leg. He can't help you on the farm. This is such a horrible thing." And the farmer said, "Maybe." And then the next day, the Imperial Army comes around to recruit all of the able bodied sons to go to war. In a war where they're going to be at the front line and probably die, his son doesn't get recruited because of the broken leg. So the neighbors come around and say, "What wonderful luck you have. What a wonderful thing that he broke his leg. So now he doesn't have to go to war." And the farmer just said, "Maybe." The key to living in alignment isn't that, "Oh, I'm waiting for the good things," or, "Oh, I'm trying to get rid of the bad things." It's everything is just an experience. I'm at peace no matter what. If I lose it all, I'm at peace. If I gain it all, I'm at peace.
That is such a beautiful message.
Thank you.
Yeah, I absolutely love that message. And I feel like whoever is listening to this podcast episode today, that I really hope that drops. Because no matter the situation, if we can be detached, would probably be the word that I would use, then it's much easier to be at peace with whatever happens. And that detachment actually gives a lot of peace to people who previously would have been striving, and instead now they can, well, be thriving. And I really agree with what you're sharing, Daryl, and I love that.
Well, thank you. And actually, it reminds me there was Tim Minchin. He's a British comedian, and he was giving an address to a group of college students, and he put it really, really well when it comes to detachment. It's like so many of you are going to have this big, hairy, audacious goal of you're going to do this great thing in life. Don't throw it away because you're going to spend your entire life reaching that one goal. And then when you get there, it'll take most of your life anyway. And then what? Well, now you got that one goal. Congratulations. Woohoo. Throw a party. What about all the parties you missed along the way because you were so stuck on that goal? We
Yeah.
get so attached to these outside, we have to be this. This is my purpose. This is who I am, that we don't experience the now in all of its beauty, because that's where the peace is truly found.
Yeah. And I think that happens as well with relationships, in fact. Like, we're talking about the end of a relationship, but let's talk about the start of a relationship where people think, I have to get that girl, or I have to be married and engaged and have children in the next 12, 24 months. People think that they have to strive for that next thing when they're not actually enjoying the present and the now. They're
Yep.
not actually realizing the blessing of maybe not having the guy or the girl, or not being married, or their singlehood and their freedom. And instead, they think that they'll be happy when XYZ. And it's always that next thing.
Yep.
And I truly think that we need to stop chasing that next thing. And if we can't even appreciate and love the current, the here and the now, we might never even receive that next thing, because that might be the lesson to learn or to be gained.
Absolutely. It was interesting. I was talking to a couple clients today about this exact principle. So there's 5 core principles I teach my clients and the people I work with that help them live in alignment every day. And it's be authentic, be accountable, detach from outcomes, live in gratitude, and take inspired action. But that detach from outcomes, so many people will over and over again say, "Oh, well, I've imagined just being healthy and it feels good and I can imagine that. But how do I get rid of the doubt? What if it doesn't come true?" You want to get rid of the doubt of anything? Detach from the outcome. If you have no expected outcome, you can't doubt an outcome you don't expect, and all doubt is gone. It's interesting you bring up the beginning of relationships. So I have this, it's an allegorical example I've created of what I believe is the world's most beautiful love story. So, busy street somewhere, doesn't matter what city it's in, you have 2 people whose eyes meet and there is a spark. You can tell there's a connection there. They're just drawn to each other. It's this magnetic pull. They walk up to each other. It's almost immediate hug and embrace, and they feel the love between them. And they take each other's hand and they spend the whole day together and they talk and they enjoy things, and they are out walking in nature. In the evening, they're looking up at the stars. And then the very next morning, they go their separate ways and move on. But they both take with them that one day of feeling truly loved with someone they never see again, but it doesn't matter because look at the experience they got to cherish.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, it gives me goosebumps
Good.
because I'm definitely someone that has had those experiences, and they might not be a forever thing or it might not be a forever person, but you can always look back and go, it doesn't matter where it is now, for a moment or for a day, for a month or for a year, we had that, and you can hold on to the good parts. And I think that's beautiful.
Exactly the right point. Our paths may cross for a moment or for a lifetime, but I'm here for the experience of the now.
Yeah, and I feel like that almost recovers people from grief because that attitude is so different to an attitude of, "Oh, I it was like this and we were so in love and we did," and talking about the past and grieving. I feel like that's so light as opposed to that heaviness of sitting here now, but then talking about the past.
Well, grieving is just holding on to the imagination of a memory as you remember it, which probably isn't accurate anyway, by the way, because anything that isn't happening right now, your conscious mind isn't processing. It's all imagination. You can get imagination from your memories. You can get imagination from things you think are about to happen or from something fantastical like a flying unicorn if you want. But you take that imagination and those memories, and guess what? Whatever parts of those feel like peace, you hold on to and cherish. Whatever don't, that's okay. It's just an experience.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, Daryl. Thank you so much.
You're so
Now,
welcome.
I want to talk a little bit more about your work. Before we wrap this up, I'd love for the listeners to hear, how do you hold space for someone that's going through change or that's navigating the world and things are coming up, it's unexpected, they don't know how to deal with it, or they just want to work with you because they're aligned. And from hearing this interview or coming across your page, tell us a little bit more.
Fantastic. Okay, so right now, me and my team are working on live events that we're going to be doing all over the world. That's our big focus as a team. But I'll tell you what I do with people right now. Wherever you are, there's one thing that is the truth behind everything I do. There is nothing greater than the power of you. So it is about you. I'm not going to be a coach who comes in with here's tips and tricks and hacks and things, and here's all the different techniques you have to do. And once you've mastered those techniques, you can move on to the no. I have one message and one simple message. When you live in alignment, you will naturally create your happiest life and manifest miracles in everything in your life. So I've got right now on my website, darylshaunprice.com. It is a 2-week transformation course, which anybody that listens to this podcast, I'm sure Phoebe's going to put a link down there for you guys to get a discount on that course. And this is a course where you're going to get daily instruction from me with practices that help you shift your attention to I'm living in alignment every day. No matter what happens, I'm living in alignment. And by the end of the 2 weeks, we have seen miracles happen for people that aren't just, oh, I got this one thing I manifested, but that have changed their life into something so much better than they could have imagined from where they were. So the live events, I've got the course, I've got an inner circle subscription if you want more that includes a live monthly group coaching call with me and everyone else that's in the inner circle. It's very simple. I don't have a lot of things I offer because I want the message to speak for itself. And I truly do believe there's nothing greater than the power of you. I'm not here to teach you Daryl Shaun Price's way. I'm here to be a presence so you can start to say, I'm going to choose me. I'm going to choose alignment no matter what.
Yeah. And for the listeners that are resonating with this, I mean, imagine waking up every day feeling empowered, feeling peaceful and aligned with your true self, and being able to get out of bed with energy and to discover these simple, practical tools that will shift your energy and invite miracles into your life again and again. That's what this Power of You 2-week transformational course is all about. And I'm going to put a link in the show notes so that you guys get $100 off of the course, which is a huge discount. And what you will receive is easy to follow videos, guided meditations, and very simple daily guided activities and practices. So definitely click on the link in the show notes or use the code Phoebe and you'll get $100 off of this course. And make sure that you start focusing on your journey and being aligned. And I guess, Daryl, you'll probably have a lot more to share with that. But what is one piece of advice you can give people for how they can start their day to ensure they are aligned and on the right path?
Well, I tell you what I do to start my day every day. And I am very much a practice what I preach person. I won't help anyone with anything I have not done myself and seen the change in. So every day I start with just a meditation of getting into alignment, which you'll learn in that course as well. But it's very, very simple. I block everything else and focus my attention on my heart. I let my heart start to feel peace, love, joy, gratitude, and bliss until it's full. And then I just let that expand. And once I feel I'm vibrating with those emotions completely, and the reason I choose those emotions is because of what frequency those emotions are and how it starts the upward spiral. Automatically, if you focus your mind on those emotions and feeling those, that feeling will start to create ideas of things out there that match that. So once I'm in that alignment, I don't choose what to do next. I do nothing in life. I follow the peace. So if I do my meditation and get up and all of a sudden peace says, put on a yellow chicken suit and dance in the highway, I'm putting on a yellow chicken suit and we're dancing in the highway. It doesn't have to make sense, but I choose to follow peace because the ultimate act of faith that creates miracles is me knowing my spirit will guide me. I just have to listen. And I've got clients that I've worked with for, oh, wow, this is like 10 years ago that still reach out to me and say, I still hear your voice in my head saying, follow the peace whenever I'm struggling. And it clicks and I remember and I'm right back to where I need to be.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for that reminder. That is such a good reminder. And I think that for anyone that maybe you're struggling in the morning, maybe your vibration doesn't feel high, maybe it takes a while to get out of bed now, or something, whether it's because of the weather or the winter, or you've lost a person that's special in your life, there are ways to help you re-energize so that you're thriving throughout the day and throughout life. And I think that's a fantastic little exercise that packs a punch and is so powerful.
It really does. And I'll tell you this, I know right now, most of your listeners are going to say, yeah, but I'm dealing with this because I've heard it from everybody. Yes, but I'm dealing with, and how can I actually feel peace if this is happening? Do you think you have a block that is stopping you from doing this? I have a challenge for you. You reach out to me and tell me what that block is. I don't care what it is. Say, I feel like I can't really feel peace and know how to follow that because of this. Okay, let me know. Just reach out to me. There's no cost. Just make a comment. I will respond to that comment.
Amazing. Daryl, thank you so much. I've loved this conversation. I'm really glad that we connected and I look forward to connecting with you more. I cannot wait to get my hands on the course and to go through it. There's so much that you teach that not only do I resonate with it, but I know a lot of my listeners would resonate with it too. And I thank you that you are such a man, that you're so generous and you are such a giving person. And I'm very amazed by your journey. I love the story that you've already shared so far, but also amazed at the mission that you have to help people heal and feel and to be aligned and magnify miracles in their lives. And I just want to say kudos to you for the work that you do. And to the listeners, if you are resonating with this, make sure that you leave a comment, connect with Daryl, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever. I'll put everything in the show notes and stay inspired to thrive and shine always.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you had me here.
Thank you, Daryl. So thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you inspired to thrive.